Oh yeah, Joshua chapter 8 verse 9. He has just set up that they're going to that the people are going to set an ambush up, that they're going to be behind, right? That's what it is. Mm-hmm. They're behind the city of Ai, and now I don't really remember how far we got in the explanations of what's going on. So you'll have to tell me. Basically, I'll just give you on the outside, as they would say. What happens is that he tells them you're going to walk around into the back of the city, and it takes 2 days. Did I cover that? No, I didn't? Okay, so let me start from there. Okay. So that's starting from, we'll start from the fifth line, as it were, the fifth verse, which says, I and all the nation that is with me will approach the city, and they'll come up to meet us, and so on and so forth. So it says, I will be is that where it is? Yeah. I'll be opposite the people coming out, like in the beginning. No, that's not where it is. It must be coming up then. Oh, maybe it's here. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. We're right at where I was. Okay. So 9. We're on 9 then. Okay, I did cover all this stuff. Vayishlachem Yoshua, and Joshua sent them. Verse 9. Joshua sent them, Vayelchu el ha'ma'arav, and they went, the ambushers went to the ambush, Vayeshvu bein Beit El, uvein ha'ai, miyam la'ai. And they settled or dwelt between Beit El and between Ai, from the sea to Ai. Vayelen Yehoshua balayla hahu b'toch hayam ha'am, and Joshua remained overnight with them in the midst of the people. Any questions? Yeah.
Is this Beit El correspond at all to the modern Beit El in the West Bank?
Probably. I would guess it's the same place. The interesting thing is, as a good American, brought up in American public schools, I have absolutely no idea what geography looks like. I say that proudly as an American person brought up in the public school system. I have no idea. Well, I had sort of very sarcastic when I say that, but it's. I'm guessing that all the names that we know today are the places that were naming them, or within that vicinity. Mm-hmm. Okay, there are some places that we don't know where they are. An example would be Mount Sinai. We don't know where Mount Sinai is. There's 3 possibilities as to which mount is Mount Sinai. The people who take you on tours, they know definitively where Mount Sinai is, and they tell you this is where it is. But in reality, we don't know. Okay, we don't know which trail the Jews from Egypt to Israel. There's, I think, 2 or 3 possibilities as to the trails they went on, based upon the names in the Torah, because we don't call them by those names. Some of these places we do. If you go back to Bereshis, the very beginning of the Genesis, where you have the 4 rivers that are named surrounding Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, you only know 2, the Tigris and the Euphrates. The question is, are they the same Tigris and Euphrates that we know today? Or, because that's pre-flood. So since it's pre-flood, were those rivers the same rivers? Not the same rivers? Why are they rivers? You know. So that's all the questions that you really have to ask on these named places.
This was Beit El, and we visited friends in Beit El in the West Bank. We took a bus from Jerusalem, and was north of Jerusalem. So this kind of makes sense.
It's very possible. Right. But remember, the maps are based upon our understanding of what's going on, but there's really no way to verify whether or not these places are the places we identify today as Beit El. No, I don't think there is anyway.
No.
If there is, and people want to yell at me on the internet,
Put a plaque or, engrave their name on the stone in front.
yeah.
Make it so easy, wouldn't it?
Well, but it would.
Somebody break it.
No, but like I said, we really don't know.
Yeah.
People can argue all they want, but I think that
would approximate it.
right. Approximately, certainly.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's the same town or,
Yeah.
it's like Main Street in the USA. Every town has a Main Street. So which Main Street you were talking about? And did Main Street move? In this town, God only knows that you're traveling on one street and then you go onto a different street, go to another street, and it's the same name as the other street. I'm thinking, what kind of Michigan, who sets these streets up? Town, whatever that town official is. And I'm thinking, did he get lost? How did that happen? That you have Twickenham over here and suddenly another Twickenham over there, and you get totally lost. As we would say in Yiddish, verblunted. You don't know what you're talking about after all. There's thousands of different places. So again, I don't want to say it's not. It may very well be. But like places like I don't think there's an I today to talk about. I mean, it was destroyed back then. The question is, did they rebuild it?
Yeah.
Jericho, did they rebuild it? Sodom and Gomorrah, I know they rebuilt it. Because you see a sign in Israel, this way to Sodom. I think I'm going to go to hell if I go that way. Not worth it, Because it's not supposed to be built either. Okay. But, so that's what's going on. So, let's look at the Malbim. So I want to get you into this. Again, he sent them. So what's happened? He says the reason that he sent the ambushes 2 days before the war is for what we're about to find out, because they're going to have to camp on this north of Ai. The ambushes have to camp on the north side of Ai. Okay, and so they have to go many miles. A Persian mile is about 3 of our miles. 3 of our miles. So they have to go many Persian miles, as he says, out from the city into the fields, into the wilderness, in order that they will not be seen. So it's not going to be a short thing. So he has to leave that. He has to send them out 2 days before, and they're going to sit there. And he says they're not going to be able to travel back and forth, but rather they have to remain hidden. Because what's going to happen if they don't? By the way, if they start walking around, what's going to happen? So people will see them. It won't be a trick anymore. So then they're going to go between Beit El and between Ai, and it's impossible to say that they were living or hiding on the west side of the city, which is the plain between Beit El and Ai. Because if that was the case, how is it possible that the people of Ai would not see them because they're going to be coming to help Ai? So it would be impossible not to trip over the Jewish people. So it can't be there on the west side, right? The west side. The west. So by force, you have to say that they were in the south side of the city, and therefore the people were on the south side of the city, and therefore the ambushers lived or stayed in the southwestern part from the side going to the south after the city, and from there they wouldn't be seen. Therefore, they didn't meet the men of Beit El when they were going to help them out. They didn't see the people. So they were well hidden. The point is they're well hidden as a result that they had to be sent out 2 days before the war would begin. Okay? And they have to sit there. They have to be in hiding. And then Joshua stayed overnight with the people. Why? So they would be prepared for the next day. That's why he's there. He's right with the troops, ready to go into battle. Okay. Next verse. It says in verse 10, Vayash came Yehoshua baboker. Joshua woke up early in the morning. Whenever it says Vayash came, it means early in the morning. Vayifkod et ha'am, and he appointed the nation. Counted? Appointed. What does it say? Counted or appointed?
Inspected.
Inspected. His him. Okay, inspected. But he inspected the nation. Vaya alhu v'ziknei Israel, and he with the elders of Israel went up lifnei ha'am, before the nation, ha'ai, toward eye. What do you want to say there? What's the questions? Any questions? Remember, Vayifko can mean he set up, he appointed, he counted. Yeah.
What are the elders doing here?
What are the elders doing there? Okay. What else? Anything else?
Why did he count?
Why did he count to appoint? Good. Okay.
This looks like a typical military formation where he's mustering the troops, getting ready for battle.
You're giving an answer.
I'm giving an answer.
How about a question?
Because I already had the question.
I want the question.
Pair silent.
There you go. I like questions. Okay. So let's see. The Malbim says, remember, I'm just looking at one, by the way, I want you to be aware of something. Again, I'm looking at one commentary because it's a running commentary. But there are different commentaries on the page, and some will go psychological, some will go into just, let's look at simple text. So you can go all over the place with this sort of thing. And you can get into what you're saying. It could be a battle plan and so on and so forth. But it's, which is what the Malbim is about to do. But I just want you to be aware that I'm only picking on one commentary, for the most part, okay? And that there are other statements out there, and if you use your ArtScroll, if you, the ArtScroll that you have in front of you, he probably presents a lot of different choices too. So it's always well worth seeing what they're doing, but only after you know what the question is. Otherwise, you're just reading a book and you're reading the commentary, you're not really catching up with what they're trying to do. Okay?
What is the Malbim's usual overall approach? What's his?
He likes to do pshat. He likes simple things, but he also gets into why he's doing it. Pshat is the simple explanation, and now you have to understand why he did it, which is why he had to say 2 days before, and he'll give you directions. So really, he really is giving you an in-depth running commentary. Unlike Rashi, who doesn't. Rashi's very quick. Boom, he gets in and out. This is a problem, and that's the end of it. He expects you to know. The Malbim is much later. The Malbim, I think, is 1700s. So people were well, actually, if I really think historically, around 1700s, you had reformers. The reform movement was becoming big. And they were the Enlightenment.
Yeah.
And so people were looking at the text and not really following the commentaries and trying to make up all their statements on this. So he would be one of the people who would be coming to answer them, to show that no, there's a lot of information here that you don't know about, and that's necessary to know.
And when Rashi wrote what?
Rashi was in there were no reformers there.
Nearly 1,000 years ago, yeah. Everybody
He was in 1040.
It was much more. He expected a higher level of knowledge of people at that time.
Right. But there also wasn't. There was no enlightenment. There was nothing. It was just people were forgetting. So he put down information. Okay. So it says Vayivkot. So here's one answer. He says since he was the officer of the army, so he had to appoint people to do what they were going to do. So that would be not counting them, but what's the translation you said? Supervising them? Inspecting them. He has to get them ready as well. Like you were saying, he has to muster the troops and say, okay, this is what's going on. He's the head. And it says, and he went up. What does it mean he went up? According to the two conditions that Hashem said to him. One is he has to be at the head of the nation. If Joshua leads the people, then the people will be successful. If Joshua remains in the background, like he did the last time, the people will not be successful. So that's why it says, Vayalahu. He had to go. He got up first. And then the Ziknei Yisrael. and then all the nation, and they came opposite the. Well, we didn't hit that yet, but we will. And they came opposite the city, and it says Patach. They came to the opening of the gate of the city, which was to the north. Therefore, they camped to the north of Ai, and the valley would be separating them between them and between the state. Okay, so that's the very next pasuk. So we're getting into that too. Let's do that. We're on 11 now. By the way, the Malbim, just to make my point, didn't pick on Ziknei Am, the elders of the people, because he said there's no question about that. Why wouldn't the elders of the people? It would make sense. You have the 4-star general, since we're supposed to be leading, okay, then the leaders of the people, and now the people. So the Malbim was saying it's common sense.
It's not referring to old people per se. The elders, they might be 35 or 40 years old already.
The elders could be 18 years old.
Oh.
Because we say in Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, Al tistaken b'kankan el b'mash b'tocho. Don't look at the bottle, rather look what's in the bottle. In other words, I can look at, they were talking about, take a bottle of wine. Don't look at the bottle, a dusty bottle, therefore it must be a good wine. It may not be true. It could be just a dusty bottle. Could be nothing in there. Or you could look at the bottle and say, it's a brand new bottle. The wine must be brand new. And you open it and suddenly it's the best wine you ever had. So the rabbis are saying, don't look at the bottle. Rather look what's inside the bottle. So I could have an old man that's an ignoramus, or I could have a young guy who's a genius in Torah, or whatever.
So they're just talking about, so those who are the leaders are just the most brilliant ones.
The most involved in Torah. Brilliant is involved in Torah. Again, that's very important to understand. A Talmud Chacham doesn't have to be an old man. It doesn't hurt, but it's the wider the beard, apparently, the more clout he has. But it's nonetheless.
The more pain he has too,
Every time,
arthritis and
every time the subject is another, I was thinking about Elazar Ben Azariah with the beard turning white when he was 18.
All right. Well, when he was 18, because his wife said, "You don't have any white hair." I wouldn't want that wife. Okay.
The people would see he was an elder. Then.
Correct. But that it was. I'm not sure how seriously we have to take that his hair turned white. Although if you're running a whole yeshiva, I could see that happening very quickly, because you have to deal with everybody, all the politics. But in general, what we're saying is, don't look at the person, don't look at the vessel. Yeah. Figure out what's there. So again, you can have a genius at a young age. By the way, genius doesn't mean that you were going to go to them. Or zaken means I have knowledge and I know how to use it. That's a zaken. My mother would always say to us that book knowledge is very nice, but if you don't have common sense, you're worthless to me. You have to have common sense. So a zaken, zeh shekone chachma, that's the acrostic for it. Zeh shekone chachma. This one acquires wisdom. Means that I have the wisdom, but I know how to use it. I know how to put everything into the proper place. Otherwise, I just have this knowledge, but I'm a real idiot with everything else. It doesn't help me. That's what do you call it? Idiot savant. It's a oxymoron. Idiot savant. What do you mean, idiot savant? Either the guy's a genius or he's not. No, on certain things he's fairly great. On other things he's an idiot. Not to insult all the idiot savants out there, but that's the concept. So if I have a person who is a genius, knows all this stuff behind me, but cannot, for the life of him, implement into real life, the guy is worthless.
You hear people talking, common use, when they're talking about Zakanim, they're talking about old people. Right. In the Hebrew class on Monday, that's the way they're using those exercises.
Yeah, because they're going from, they are, in modern Hebrew, they are saying this is what a Zaken is, but this is not modern Hebrew. In rabbinic thought, Zaken is a different category, which confuses a lot of people, because think about it, when you say the old man, the old man could be 20 years old. His baby is 2 years old, and he's an old man already. The old man, my old man, is coming down, and he's looking for a guy with a long beard. And you see a 20-year-old, or today a 15-year-old, and you know that's the old man. What are you talking about? He's a young guy. It all depends on perspective.
There's a perfect correlation with the Latin word here. Veteran.
Yeah.
Oh.
Vetus is old.
Right.
But it's old in experience.
Oh.
So you can be a veteran and be, 20 years old.
Correct.
You've gone through 2 campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
You're already advanced and you're a leader.
Or you can even go to a senior, and the senior in high school is only 17.
Yeah.
Or I could have a senior in the senior home, when they're 80s. Yeah.
The word sophomore, sophos and moros is just exactly what.
Right.
Sophos means wise, moros means an idiot.
There you
So
go.
a sophomore is wise and stupid at the same time and doesn't know the difference.
And it makes sense according to that age group. Sophomore really is that.
That's a process of,
Right.
Of aging.
Right. Again, all the 10th graders are going to be yelling at me now. Okay. Okay.
The price of fame.
Right. All 1,000 people watching me. Okay. Yeah. So, where was it? So we're talking about the Canaan.
11.
11. Oh, okay. So, right. So we were saying, so all the nation of came to the war. She told that were with him. Alu went up the Yikshu, and they came close. They approached. The Avo'u neged Ahar, and they came opposite the city. Vayachanu mitzvon la'ai, and they encamped to the north of the city. Ve'agai beinav, and the city, the valley, the Gai is the valley, was between it, or him, them, ubeina ai, and between him, meaning the nation, and bein ha'ai, and between the city Ai. Now, I want to point out one thing, that it says Gai is the valley, right? So you have Gei Hinnom, where we get Gehenna from. Gei Hinnom is the valley of Hinnom. Hinnom was a person. Okay, and that's where they used to have the idolatry. So that's Gei Hinnom, because a construct. This is not a construct. So that's why it's Gai. So Gai and Gei, as long as Gei is connected to something, is then valley of. Gai is just valley. Okay? That's for again, I want you to understand the grammar going on here. Also is written, Beino, if you look at it, Beit, Yud, Nun, Vav, which normally you would read Beino, between him, but it's read Beinav, with the Yud Vav ending, which would mean plural, between it, plural, them. In other words, because otherwise we have a nation, okay, and then you have Beino. That would not make sense. It would have to be Beinav. So that's why Ketib Kri. It's an interesting thing. What's written and how we read it. All this is from our tradition. We know it wasn't changed. We know it was done on purpose. The question is why? Great question. Not going to be addressed in this class, but it's not that I know of right now. Anyway.
Did you say that Beinav would be spelled differently?
Yeah, it is spelled differently. Beinav would be Beit Yud Nun Yud Vav.
With Yud.
Right, and that would indicate that it is a plural. Modifying the plural.
So it's spelled Beino, but it's read Beinav.
Correct.
It was without the Yud in there.
Correct. Correct. Okay. Something to just keep in mind that you have these two things, and we know that's written one way, but we also know it's read a different way. Always important to note. Okay. So now let's go to 12. Vayikach. So he took. Who's the he? Joshua. Joshua took Kach Hameshet Alafim Ish, approximately or like 5,000 men. V'yasimotam Orev, and he put them as ambushers. Bein Beit El ubein Ha'ai miyam le'ir, between Beit El and between Ai, to the west of the city. Any questions?
Wait a minute.
Yes, go ahead. Let me hear.
We got a note here.
Before the note, come on.
Huh?
Before the note. What's the note
Before the
say?
note?
I want you to look at the pasuk and say what's the problem.
Should have been north,
Why north?
because it's from the last couple words.
So you are assuming by that statement that these are the same ambushes.
So it must be a different ambush.
Aha! Yes.
They
Need
didn't
me?
tell me they were coming today.
Okay, they are. Okay, I'm in the middle of class, so we can talk later. But it's
Okay.
yes, they are. So it's, according to Rashi, it says right away, Oriv Achir Ariv. This is a separate set. Please shut the door though.
Yes.
Thank you. A different set of ambushes. Okay? Echad karov le'ir mecharara. One closer to the city than the other.
It's a different number too.
Correct. The first number was what?
10.
10,000? I forget, but I'll take your word for it. 10,000? Now it's 5,000. So it's a separate set. Now the question, of course, is going to be, what's this new set for?
Pincers.
What is it?
Pincer movement.
What's a pincer?
Where you have two, and then they're able to
Okay.
sandwich them.
There you go.
You have
Push
two
them,
flanks.
You know, like a wedge.
Right.
You're gonna push them back toward the invading troops.
Okay.
Yeah, you have
Okay.
one coming from northwest and one coming from northeast.
This causes panic because they turn to escape one way, that they see men,
Mm-hmm.
so they immediately are already frightened, and they turn the other way to escape and run into a bigger force.
Right.
And then those two forces are pushing you into the main force.
Uh-huh.
It's
You guys were in the army. See, I'm a little boy. I'm not in the army. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. Okay?
you wonder how, you know, in military colleges, if they study this, because these are very classic.
They,
Strategy.
according to, they would study this. What was asked in, West Point. They asked in West Point, I forget, it's a famous story. They said, because they were studying all the ancient wars, and so they said to the teacher, whatever they call the teachers in those schools, why don't we learn about the Israeli wars, since 48 and so on and so forth? He said, because you can't learn from miracles.
Makes no sense.
Right, it makes no sense. He said they should have been taken down years
But
ago.
then you'd have to turn to the Battle of Jericho.
Right.
This
Even
is where they're on their own. Joshua's a
Right.
man now.
Correct. Well, again, on their own, only in theory.
But
In reality, he has God on his side, and he knows that. But God is making it appear to the nations that Joshua and the people are doing it. Why would, before we get into it, why would God do that?
because this is going to expand their reputation. You know, a lot of wars are won by psychology,
Right?
and they're also by the propaganda that comes from it. And the,
Okay.
you know, if you're unbeatable, but the battle is God's battle.
Mm-hmm.
Now you show that you're unbeatable with a leader's strategy and the elders.
I hear. You want to hear the other reason the rabbis give? So you're going knowing the victors. The rabbis go the other way. The reason that God did this was he didn't want to torture the Jewish people to have to keep fighting. So rather, since he was making this conventional warfare, everybody figured conventional warfare is only a matter of numbers. We're all going to get together. We're all going to defeat our common enemy. Hashem makes a miracle and gets rid of all the nations at one fell swoop, so that the Jews can now inhabit the land. So I make it look, talk about the ultimate ambush, I make it look like it's conventional, but in reality I'm going to take you all out. But if he would show miraculous, so then everybody would say, oh, we have to stay away because we're not going to win. It would be like if somebody's throwing lucky sevens on the craps table, you don't bet against that person. As the Talmud says, when the luck is with that person, no matter who you are, Don't go against him. It's just not worth the time.
So
You're gonna lose.
they're trying to sucker them in.
Right, it's God. God is saying, okay, you all want to attack. If I would let you keep going one by one by one, so then it's just ridiculous. My people are going to get tired. Why do I want to do that to them? Rather have everybody come in, fight one time, take you out, have a good day. That's how the rabbis are looking at this. So it's an interesting approach.
It's a double threat.
Double threat how?
Both the battle that's conducted by God, by Hashem,
Right.
and then the battle conducted by the Israel.
Right. But
You
the
can't win either way.
But the Israelis, in this case, the Joshua's troops, have to realize that really it's not them at all. They're just the front men, but really everything's happening from Hashem. As long as we remember that in any of our incursions with anybody, we're in good shape. The minute we forget that and we think that it's really our military might, then it's bad for us. I'm not going to say we're lost, but it's bad for us. We always have to remember this all from Hashem. I mean, today's war that we're in, it should end very quickly, and Mr. Hashem with peace. But it's again, anybody looking at that has to understand that the casualty list, Baruch Hashem, thank God, is not what it should be in a normal war like that. It should be way up at this point. Thank God it's not, and hopefully it won't get there. But that. And all the missiles that have been dropping on Israel for 5 years, there's been no death from that bomb coming over. There's been death, but not from that. And again, you have to say that's miraculous. This Iron Dome that they have, that they can't even penetrate the Iron Dome. That's miraculous. All these things are miraculous, and we have to recognize this from Hashem. If we do, it works to our advantage. If we don't, again, and we think it's all our brains and everything, that's when we start getting wills done. So, like I said, that's why the rabbis say here, and this was long before any war broke out, but that's why they're saying that God is doing this to everybody, to make them look like it's normal warfare, so they will come in. Let's get it done one time, and then we can start settling the land properly. So it's interesting how you can look at it either way. But the rabbis are having that sort of push on this. Okay, that's where the rabbis are going to come out. That's the side. Okay, let's go. Let's get to this. He said he took 5,000 men. He says there's a great distinction between the first set of ambushes and the second set. The first set of ambushes stood on the southwestern side, far from the city. Also, they were not very close. Although they also weren't very far, because it said that you shouldn't go too far away from the city. So they weren't close, but they also weren't far. They weren't too far. They could get there. And they were hidden from the people of the city. Not so with the second set of ambushers who are standing near the camp on the north side of the city, only a little bit dragged to the northwest part, until they're standing until the camp is sitting on the north with the ambushers that came out from the side of the west. Okay, like a dalet, a backward dalet. So a dalet is like this. So they turn that upside down. So I guess it would be like an L for us. Okay, and therefore they called to this set of ambushers. What do they call them? They can't be calling them ambushers. What are they calling them? Orev in the English. It doesn't make sense to keep saying ambushes, but okay.
Yes. Orev, where's the Orev? Let's see here.
The ambush here too.
It says ambush? Okay, fine.
Well, they lie in ambush, it says.
A lion ambush?
They set them to lie in ambush.
Oh, lion ambush. Okay, so they're calling them ambushes. Fine. I mean, that's what it is, but okay. I thought they had a fancier word in English. So that's why they're calling this ambush, these ambushes in this verse, after the name of a heel, because they're like, again, they're at the bottom. So the heel is one that surrounds the whole thing. Fine, okay.
They're like a flanker.
A flanker? Yeah. There you go. Okay. Fine. Now let's go to the next verse. This verse 13.
Wait, huh? Wait, you didn't explain,
Yeah.
in the 12, the spelling. Apparently it's spelled La'ir, but they wanted to read it as La'ai.
That's just a K'tivah.
What?
That's what we call how it's written here and how it's read.
Yeah.
We don't explain them all.
Oh.
I'm sure that somebody may somewhere, but it's
Yeah,
that's not
they don't say it here either, they just give you the notes, this is how we read it.
right. So you have to just remember that not everything is going to be picked on, because that's not it's not a question on pshat. It's not a question on simple understanding. We know it's a simple understanding. So the Minchas Shai, what does he say?
And you just drop the last letter and what you're.
Right. So you have to, there are people who comment on it. It's a Minchas Shai, but it would take a little while to go through it
Yeah.
to figure out what he's really talking about. But those grammarians will pick on that, and they'll try to explain why each one is Ketiv Kri. You just have to understand that there's a reason, but it's really not part of what we need right now. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like in grammar.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to know what the delegation is, and sometimes I can just say, let it go. No big deal. V'yasimu ha'am. So the nation, they put the nation at kol ha'machana, all of the camp. Ashir mitzvon le'er, that was from the north to the city. V'adakevo, and this is what you said, its flank. It's that's what you called it, its flank. Okay, its flank, or literally its heel. Remember, it turned the dalet upside down to see L. So I have this guy at the bottom. That's my flank. That's my flank, and also my heel. Oh, flank is the side?
Flank is the side.
Forget that then. It's not a flank. So I'm at the bottom. I'm at the heel. Okay, that's what akevo. Its heel. From the south, from Miyam Ha'la'ir, from the west of the city. Vayelech Yoshua b'laylahu, and now Joshua goes in that night, b'toch ha'emek, into the midst of the valley. It's no longer called Gai, by the way, now it's called Emek.
Oh.
So that's an interesting change in the language itself. So
What is the meaning of that? Why would that change?
we're going to find out. Okay? Yeah, that is a great question. I'll leave it like that.
Yeah,
Either we're going to find out, or it's a great question.
they're translating it as valley.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They're not going to translate it. There's no other way to translate that. Okay, so so just one instance is Betocha Emek. Why did he go into the midst of the valley? To come closer to the city. He's coming closer to the city. When it says, and they put the nation, Rashi says, what does Sima mean? What does it mean? It means they set up close to the wall so that they could attack the city. That's how Rashi is looking at it. Very simple. The akevo, its heel, means the ambushes, like we already explained. And then, okay, I'm going to skip that last Rashi, because that's going to answer the question about the Amek. So, any other questions? We have the one question is, again, the heel we answered, right? That's just because it's the ambushes that he set up, and since they're at the bottom, as it were, that we already said, is they're calling it like its heel is base. Okay, that's really what they're using that for. That's the second set of ambushes who are seen. They're really seen. It's like, can you imagine the people, if you go into their mindset, what, they think we don't see them? but we really don't see the people behind. It's a deception setup. Here we have one set of ambush, but we see those guys, so what's the ambush? There's no ambush there. Okay, so now the last part was, so the Malbim says like this, the Yasimo Am wants to explain that he set them up so that they could grab, as it were, or take a hold of the city, the camp that's to the north, and it's the ambushes that were the 5,000 that would stand around the enemies, would also were standing near the camp from the west to the city, and the edge of the northwestern side. Okay, and so there you have the two rows, like you said, the pinch. You call the pincher pincers. Okay, and so that when they come.
Columns that come together.
Okay, so they're coming out for 5,000 men, so on and so forth, from the west, and the others are going to collide. And so now it says Yalin Yoshua stayed in the valley, as it were. Wants to explain that Hagam, and also in the day that they were encamped before the valley, that night Joshua and his men started to go into the valley that was between the camp and between Ai, in order to show the people of Ai that they're coming closer. Simple explanation. It's a very simple explanation. So one is, why do I have to hear again he's going into the valley? Is because, just on simple levels, because he's starting to make the approach. Now, anybody looking at English would not know the difference between Guy and Amek, okay? The rabbis do notice a difference. So they say, why does it say valley, Amek? And so the rabbis say that he started to delve into the halacha, amuka b'halacha. He started to go into the umkas, the depth of halacha. So they're taking the word Amek, and they're saying it doesn't only mean valley, but there's a depth to this word. It means something else. So he starts to look into the halacha as to what to do. He stayed up night learning, as it were. Okay? You'd never get that, never understand why the rabbis are saying it. You would look and say, what kind of nonsense is this? But they're getting it because the Nach changed the word from Guy to Amek. And that's what you have to get. That's what I'm saying. Without understanding Hebrew, even if I have commentary, you will not understand the commentary to save your life. Because you don't know what they're picking on. What am I picking on?
The only way they could translate is valley, in other words.
It really means valley. The valley means valley. There's no other translation to that. But if als drasha, you like that? I'm using Yiddish here. Via the word drasha, via the word amek, since it can also mean depth. So what's the depth I'm going to? I'm going to the depths of halacha. Because otherwise, why do we have to hear that he went to the valley? A simple thing. He's starting the approach. But then why? So say Guy. What are you saying Amek for suddenly? Why do you have to change your words? The writer, the editor, maybe the editor had a teacher like mine who said you can't use the same word twice. I don't know. I know we all had that English teacher who was torturing us and said you can't keep saying the same word over and over and over again. So you have to think of a different word. But we don't deal with that in Tanakh. We're not trying to use a different word every time. God doesn't get paid by the word. Okay? Doesn't get to show off his vocabulary. What we're doing is now we have to look at why specific words. So you have that Guy, you have Amek. Like I said, in English, valley. You're not going to see the difference. Only in Hebrew you see that difference. Okay? Anything else? No. Okay.
Well, then, is it possible to do a whole lot of study and meditation just on that one verse, that phrase? That night Joshua went into the valley.
Right.
There might be a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah. It could, sure, 100%. It could also be, you could go all over the place with that sort of thing. But the main thing to understand is, again, I'm just showing you how the rabbis come up with this stuff. Because they're only going from the text. The text is alive. I need to know what the text is saying in the original in order to understand anything. And I have to have the question. Like I said, if I don't have the question, I'm also not going to get it. I have to be looking at it and saying, well, why this? Why not that? Why does it have Ketiv, Kri? Why? That's a different question. It's not something that we can go through. I can't go through everything, but that is some of the questions. And if there are certain addresses on the page, as it were, that we can go to and see what they're saying. Okay? But that's really what you're trying to understand. Why the language changes, what's really going on behind the scenes. These are all headlines. Can't say that enough. They're all headlines, and we just have to explore and to figure out what's really happening. Okay? And actually, we'll stop there because I'm not going to get to the next one.